Hello all, we're now watching the final episode of Band of Brothers. So to start off, we'd like to thank everybody for all the support and the kind comments and great insights into the show and into the men that the show decides. So we grew up watching war movies like Guns of Navarone, Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge over River Kwai, Sink the Prismark, Saving Private Ryan. What else? Any other war films we can think of?
Not offhandedly.
Well, there's also the World War II film Wind Talkers that my sister and I watched a lot.
When we were kids, yeah.
Yeah, and we, of course, now I hear it's not that good. But as a kid, anything you watch is great. But yeah, we really like war films, and seeing Band of Brothers was really neat in general.
As I said before, Band of Brothers isn't like most of the war movies we saw. It doesn't glorify war. It just shows you how
it affects them.
Yeah. It's so human, if that makes any sense.
And that's in a way a best kind of war film. Stuff like Platoon or say Full Metal Jacket, they'd show the effects of war on men. And Band of Brothers is no different, except for that it's on real people.
Yep.
So this really makes you think in retrospective about what these men had to go through. And I don't want to be like, hey, it was cool, it's awesome. It's a really, really good show. And we look forward to watching the finale. So let's get right into it. In the last episode, we saw the effects of the German, the Nazi effort against their prisoners, especially the Jews, and it was quite a horrifying episode. And since this is the final episode, we'll probably see the, I'd imagine, their real life counterparts and the how the show compares them basically in this one. And if every comment didn't, spoil us this. But, yeah. Anyways, so let's get right into it.
Wow. Oh, so they don't have the soldiers introduced.
Where we'd end up.
So now the war's already over. July 1945. It's been 2 months after the war ended. In Europe, anyway. Obviously, the war's still going in the Pacific.
I thought it might be you.
Morning.
I heard reports about a red-headed Eskimo. Thought I'd check it out.
I traded him for a couple of Lugers. That's a bargain.
How many Lugers did Winter have? Toccoa, that's their camp. Back there.
What do you think you'll do after this? Get some breakfast.
Some nitration work?
Sounds picturesque.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, I know the owners. Probably gonna go. I thought maybe I'd drag you with me.
Aww.
That's nicely offered of him.
Think about it.
Aww.
This mirrors the scene where he was in his bathtub, but now he's got his whole bathtub to himself.
We'd entered Bavaria in early May, with the hopes of capturing Berchtesgaden, party's symbolic home.
Yeah, that's where Hitler's house
and all
is.
the heads of the Third Reich had houses there, blocking the roads.
Now we're here to live. Ron? We're not sure what's up there. The colonel doesn't want us taking any unnecessary risks.
I mean, he was first into Paris, and by God, he wanted to be first into Berchtesgaden. Now, you fire up 2nd Battalion and outflank that French son of a bitch.
Came up there just to tell him that.
Tell him, go. Wow, so they get to see Hitler's house?
Wow. Must be so surreal for them. Wow, look at them.
This is the one time you can't deny being a true Nazi.
What do you mean?
Needs an improvement in decor.
I don't think we've ever seen Hitler's house in any form of media, right?
No.
I mean, you and me. No.
I can't carry all this.
I like how even he takes a knife.
Whoever comes in here after is just gonna take whatever is nailed down. I just don't even think about it.
I never expected witches to join in.
Yeah, me neither.
Take the eagle's nest. The eagle's nest, accessible by a gold-plated elevator. It was
Wow.
one of the crown jewels of his empire.
A gold-plated
The man was afraid of
elevator.
heights.
Jeez. That sounds familiar. Like I know a few people who would love to have one of those. A few prominent, famous people. Or infamous people.
Here's to him. No, goddamn it,
I
listen.
wonder if he actually found the yearbook.
Hitler. No.
All troops stand fast on present positions.
Any fast.
Want to hear it? Ready for it? Listen up. German army surrender.
No, it's over. Sunglasses, lazy, pose, and champagne. Oh, that's the best.
What is this place? Herman Goering's house?
Oh God, imagine the shit he has.
Yesterday.
That's the young guy.
Yeah, from the last episode,
Yeah.
the new one. Oh, he probably found paintings because the Germans loved hiding all the paintings they stole from the all the countries they invaded, like the Louvre, for example. They took a lot of paintings from there and hid them in salt mines, or in this case, places like here. Oh, it's the wine capital.
10,000 bottles of the world's finest liquor, wine, and champagne helped Easy Company mark the day the war in Europe came to an end.
It's all yours.
Jeez.
They've just gone. Until they saw Austria.
Oh yeah, Austria's gorgeous. The sound of music made me fall in love with the terrain there. Oh wow,
Wow, the music.
nice shot.
The music. So beautiful.
You reckon they'll make us run up those or ski down them?
Can I imagine Kurohei, but you have to run to the top of that and then back down.
Oh no, yeah, that's right.
Hey, there's that lake. Oh man, look at that view.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
We'll be comfortable here.
Did they really go to Austria to film this? I wonder.
They might have. It's quite possible.
I wonder what... You may keep your sidearm, Colonel.
Face of withering fire from a suicidal enemy being slowly hammered back into the hills. The going is brutal. I work war bonds and heroic
War bonds, of
sacrifice.
course. Always important they mention that.
They're gonna love you.
Yeah, that's more realistic.
Oh, God damn it.
There's like 8 of them walking along the trees.
Well,
You'd think they would be hurt. Deer could hear them.
Gotta be rid of you. I wish.
But if they don't have enough points, I guess they stay to the Pacific.
Sergeant Darrell C. Powers.
That's how it's done, Shifty.
I just don't rightly know how I'm going to explain all this.
You're a hell of a fine soldier, Shifty. Unfortunately, the truck was hit head-on by a drunken corporal from another regiment. Shifty had a broken pelvis,
Oh.
a broken arm, and a bad concussion. He survived, but had to spend the next few months in a
Oh,
series
Jesus.
of hospitals.
Fuck, poor guy.
I wish I could say that he was our only casualty in Austria.
Made up
Tokyo and back in 2 years.
Oh my God.
probably be over before you even get there. You know, the reality is you're going to sit here in Austria for 6 months waiting to go, and I'm going to be back in Wilkes-Barre making babies.
He's not
You
wrong
didn't
though.
tell him?
No, I couldn't get him to
Are you in on this too?
I can't let him go by himself. He doesn't know where it is.
Those were my company commander's plane that went down on D-Day.
Oh yeah.
So you were given command
Me,
of the
him.
company on D-Day.
Oh, I remember this back when it was Super frantic.
Yeah. So weird to see this when they're all so.
I know. Well, they're gonna think about this
peaceful
for the
now.
rest of their lives.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
true. It's gonna follow them.
He's a 2-star.
These episodes were so
Yeah, so tough to watch.
tough. Yeah.
Why do you want to transfer?
Frankly, I think you men have earned the right to keep you around.
Oh.
Whole Oxford was at the slave camp, said this is where the guy lives right here.
Which camp?
Whatever camp.
Was machen?
Go ahead, take off. It's my turn.
Okay, see you back at farm. Können Sie nach München gehen? Ja, bitte.
Beta, I assume, is like.
Please.
Oh, Jesus.
I like how none of them noticed.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's character.
He was dead when they brought him in.
What they did have plenty of were weapons, alcohol, and too much
Yeah, that's
time.
true. Like, that's a bad combo.
Wait here.
They wouldn't give me any gas. I tried
Jesus.
to explain. So just use his jiva. I don't think he's going to be needing it.
Hold on a second now, right?
Oh my fucking god. Oh, that was like at the beginning too.
And even if you had one, I don't think there's any hope.
He just says that so casually.
They took him to a crowd hospital so they could drum up any good doctors.
Oh, that's true. The Germans might have hospital.
Hmm.
Forget that faster.
They might know the way to the hospital faster.
Yeah.
Jeez, this is like dissolved into like a murder fest.
How's Grant? Where is he? You okay? Our company.
When you talk to an officer, you say, sir.
Crowd surgeon says he's gonna make it.
Oh wow. What a stupid incident though.
Come on.
But wouldn't surprise me if it was a lot worse. You know, Americans going up shooting up random people, rape, pillage, you name it.
Sure, a lot of pictures of him.
Thank you, sir.
He wants to demote himself.
You want to take over Sergeant Grant's platoon?
Mm-hmm.
Man, Spears has changed too.
Yeah, he
I bet in the past he would shot him straight up. Because he did that before with a drunk guy, allegedly.
I know Easy Company's gonna need it. Yes, I'm gonna stay with him, man.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Uh-huh. I mean, yes, sir.
You'll be like a technical advisor to make sure we get everything right.
I understand.
That's his excuse for getting him
Besides,
out.
on a more- Right now, down at the airfield, there was a German general who was a little PO'd about having to surrender to Private Babe Heffron from South Philly. Thinks it's beneath his stature.
Understandable, sir.
Oh, so we're actually seeing him surrender.
Oh.
With your permission, I would like to address my men briefly.
Oh.
Captain Sobel? Major Winters? Captain Sobel. Salute the rank, not the man.
Oh, great line.
Wow.
He enjoyed doing that.
Männer! Es war ein langer Krieg.
Man, it's been a long war. It's been a tough war.
Ihr habt tapfer und stolz für euer... sich nur im Kampf entwickeln kann.
It exists only in combat.
Kameraden,
Among brothers,
die Fuchshöhlen geteilt haben,
we've shared foxholes.
die sich in
We deserve long and happy lives in peace.
Oh, in reality, he's narrating the Easy Company. Yeah, in general, the average soldier, it's not their fault. But we can blame the SS guys. Fuck those guys. Jeez.
Hey, it's
Back to see the company deliver.
Oh yeah, awesome.
He became a prosecutor in Los Angeles. Went out on the ocean alone. And was never seen again. Testament to his character, 1,600 people attended his funeral in 1998.
Oh wow.
Moving business in Arkansas. He's still there. Wyoming with a unique souvenir. Hitler's personal photo albums.
Oh, so that's what they're...
He was killed in a car accident in 1958. Returned to Germany as governor of Spandau Prison. He retired a lieutenant colonel.
Spandau Prison. That's where they kept what's his name? Hess.
This morning, President Truman received the unconditional surrender from the Japanese. War's over.
Regardless, I chose not to go to Korea. I'd had enough of war. I stayed around Hershey, Pennsylvania, finally finding a little farm. A little peaceful corner of the world, where I still live today.
feeling. It's a very unusual.
Real life winners.
And it's a very unusual bonding.
We knew that we could depend on each other. And so we were a close-knit group.
And I don't know
really
anybody
revealed the
that I
names
admire
after.
more than Gil Garn.
Part of the big war, that's all. One little part.
Oh man, they nailed his accent perfectly.
Sometimes it makes me cry.
It was over, and he came back out. Well, he lost a lot of that, or at least I.
We lucky few, we band of brothers. For he who today sheds his blood with me shall be my brother.
Aw, great line.
You said, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? Grandpa said no. But I served in the company of heroes.
Aw. Okay, well, we finished it. That was...
beautiful.
That was...
Heartbreaking. Tragic.
It's even sadder now that, you know, those men that you saw on the show are probably all dead by now. Except for a few. Probably left.
It's,
Because it was 20 years ago. So.
Oh. I love that they show the men in the back of the episode instead of at the opening scene.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to
in the show.
Not build suspense. Make
in
you
the story.
Build interest in the characters, maybe.
I suppose they wanted to pay tribute to all these.
Yeah.
All these soldiers.
For what they went through. A Company of Heroes. By the way, great video game. But Company of Heroes is the name of the video game, sorry. Now that's where they got the name of the game. Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. Maybe that was it. But so that was a great finale, and
what a wonderful show.
A lot more bloodier than I thought for an ending. I thought it would just peter out, but it turns out not everything ends peacefully.
It
for
sucks
everybody.
that, like, the war is over, but still
People still die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Easy Company had the easy part of it. Imagine the occupation forces in Germany. They're just in Austria. So Austria is kind of outside Germany.
Yeah,
so
true.
Outside the main Germany. So Austria got annexed into Germany right before World War II started. So, but yeah, that was an excellent episode. Overall, the series is phenomenal. I mean, What can you like? You just look at the ratings, look at IMDb. Everyone talks about it. You can see why.
Yeah, it's like the top rated show on IMDb, right?
Yeah, one of the top.
Yeah.
At least you can see the show doesn't glorify action. I don't want to say it glorifies the men. It shows men as how human they are, because the show didn't shield away from major story elements. I don't want to say story elements. Major elements that affected soldiers, such as PTSD, memory, the combat they faced, and the terror.
Or getting blind.
Losing
sight anyway.
That the show doesn't. If it was a Hollywood movie, for example, they would have just done the German general would have done a speech in English. The show's a little more authentic.
I forgot about things like that.
Little things like that. It was really neat to see translations and the show does a very good job of not even showing what the Germans are talking about. You're just left to wonder, not wonder, because in general you get the idea of what they're saying without you don't need subtitles. The audience isn't that stupid. Yeah, it doesn't treat the audience as stupid. That's the thing. So anyway, I'm getting off about a bit of a tangent here. It's a amazing final episode, and all the actors in it did pretty well. For example, with very well. They did a great job of portraying their real life selves, from what I can tell.
Yeah, they're real.
The Bill Garnier one floored me though. The accent, just like, oh my god, the actor they picked for him really sounds like him. Wow, that was.
I wonder how they felt when they watched the show.
Yeah, did they watch the show? Did they?
Although
I don't know if I
heard
want
that.
to watch it.
I heard that during the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, a lot of soldiers had to walk out of the theater because it was too realistic for them.
Well, the show certainly conveys the intensity of combat with the same thing of that same Private Ryan did. I mean, the same camera work, the same. It felt really intense, slow frame rate, and they did a great job of that. And they followed that up with was it Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg and what was okay, but anyway, that team went on to do Pacific, I believe, and now they're working on a show, I believe, with Apple based on the 8th Air Force, the 100th Bombardment Group specifically, about the U.S. Air Force over Germany and the shit they faced.
Wonder what that's gonna be like.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna do a show like that.
Yeah.
So there's a big possibility my sister and I may decide to watch the Pacific, for example. We're thinking about that as our next show, and well, I mean, if there's other World War II stuff you guys want us to watch, feel free to suggest anything. We're down to watch.
That was a really good show.
That was.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever watch anything better than this show in terms of war. It's probably the best war show we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, there's other shows that show combat and stuff, but not as deep as Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers is just great material to write off of.
Mm.
There are other shows though. I forgot the name, but someone in one of the comments mentioned a German version. I totally forgot the name though. And there's also Generation Kill, which I heard is famous for showing U.S. Marines in Iraq.
Oh.
Maybe not Marines, Army. One of those two. Okay, they're military anyway. But yeah, we are certainly interested in watching good shows. Obviously, not just stuff to like, oh my god, over the top reactions. We like to watch stuff that's deep and interesting, too. Maybe. That makes it sound really pretentious. We only watch shows that are deep and cool. We don't watch those cheap thrill shows. Nah, fuck those shows. We only watch deep shows.
But back to the show.
Yeah. But
that was great.
20 years old, it holds up really well.
It does, yeah. I keep forgetting it was made in 2001.
I think so. 2000.
Yeah.
They aged pretty well.
Years old. Yeah.
I mean, even the CGI for its time, it kind of fits in with the atmosphere of the show. where it just seems like it's in the background, all far off.
True.
So
I think Bastogne during the mid season, Bastogne was really the most traumatic part of the show.
I can believe it for sure. That was like the last time when they fought forces that were insane, basically.
In the cold too.
Yeah, that kind of atmosphere must be horrid.
Yep. And then they would go into battle with that Spike. Was that his name? Spike.
Shifty?
Before Spears took over.
Dyke.
Dyke. Oh, I call him Spike, huh?
Fucking Dyke. But of course,
what happened to him?
As pointed out in the comments, he apparently wasn't. Some of it was a bit over dramatized, apparently. But I also read other comments saying that Winters just wanted him off because. No, I don't remember. I should.
I wonder what happened to him. Maybe somebody can fill us in on that. Well, that was a really good show. Really wonderful journey. Love that we got to see even Hitler's house. I don't think we've ever seen Hitler's house in any movies, any war movies that we've ever watched.
I think you're right. That might be the first time we've seen that.
Yeah. I wonder if Spielberg, is there a museum to his place or something?
To Hitler's house?
Yeah.
No, that would attract a bunch of Nazi closet
true. Fans
or whatever.
Nazi closet fans.
They might have it. I don't know.
There could be pictures in a museum.
Yeah. If only stuck to being a damn artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. He would still have his prejudices against.
Yeah. Yeah. We saw the thing with Liebgott going around shooting the Germans on the mountain, and I was just thinking, I wonder how common that was, because obviously that wasn't the only instance of it, and it's historically accurate. And obviously the Soviets made work of their Germans on their side, and. But yeah, war ain't pretty. It was just the contrast of it. The guy was just getting murdered, and you could just see the gorgeous background of Austria in the back, and it was just...
Yeah,
that's It was just sad, in a way. Your Spears became in charge of that prison. You heard that mentioned?
Spandau?
Yeah, Spandau.
Yeah.
That's, I think that's where Hess, Hess, Hitler's third guy in charge. He flew over to England to try and negotiate with Churchill. This is back in 1941. He flew over there to negotiate with him about, UK should join Germany in fighting Russia instead. Anyway, they imprisoned Hess at that prison since then.
Well, welcome to my doorstep. Here, come this way.
Well, they realized he was just an idiot or a crazy guy. Who knows?
Wow.
But luckily for the 101, they didn't have to get sent to the Pacific, because by then July they would have to take a month just to get over the Pacific, and retraining and all that. And then I'm glad we never saw a final invasion of Japan. That would have cost millions of people, Japanese and Americans. So really, really good show.
I know I keep saying that, but seriously, it's just very well made, very well acted.
I bet they had them train before they started filming, to do unit bonding on purpose with the actors, so it gives it a more realistic function. That's what they do with Saving Private Ryan. They made Tom Hanks and his guys train, I think, for 60 days.
Purposely leave out Matt Damon?
Yeah,
Damon?
Just to build resentment against him. Naturally, that was a neat way of doing that. You notice in the shows when they get shot, blood sprays out. That's what they call squibs, I think. Basically, blood's packed in there. So when you point a gun at it and pull the trigger, and then the thing receives it, it knows it, and then it blasts out. So it's really cool to see that always in action in my head.
That is
production side.
Neat. Yeah.
Man, that must have been a really expensive show.
Yeah.
All those we're never gonna see anything like this again, though, in general, because we have less and less World War II vehicles as time goes on. You saw for Dunkirk, they only had a couple planes to film, for instance. Nowadays, they'll just CGI all of it. So that brings me back to how they're going to film the 8th Air Force show.
I'm curious to see how Spielberg will...
Would it be all CGI? They'll probably make plane interiors, I'd imagine.
He seems to be quite... He seems to want everything to be authentic, so maybe some things will be practical.
Oh, yes, authentic. We all know E.T.'s authentic.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't he a Muppet?
I meant more like, like the Alien Actually Existed type series.
You didn't know that he actually went to Mars to grab an alien?
I heard it was Venus. Jurassic Park. He actually had actual dinosaurs. That's why the CGI looks so good. They were real dinosaurs. Spielberg knows detail, okay?
Well, I look forward to that.
I do too.
Thank you to everyone who went on this journey with us. It's been just a really good show.
It's been a really good show, and thank you again, guys, for all the great comments and support. And I know we get some comments about audio or amount of clips to show and all that. We constantly try to improve, and
thank you to everyone's feedback.
Yeah, we do appreciate that too. And thanks again for all this stuff. And yeah, that's about it. For the next show we're gonna watch, we will decide on eventually. And yeah,
thanks again.
Peace out and have a great day and stay safe. Hey y'all, so we're gonna film a segment on me showing off my World War II nerdiness, filmed by my sister. And today we're gonna start off with some of the books that I'm gonna recommend. I've read plenty of World War II books. I haven't read them all. And if you guys have any World War II book recommendations that is not on this,
the cat has recommendations.
That is not on this list or in my Kindle that I'm about to announce, let me know in the comments, and I'd like to read it. So let's start off this book segment with the basics.
Before we start, we just want to let you know that this is not sponsored.
Sponsored by my table. Anyway, so I will start off with the basic World War II books that you should definitely read. This is going to sound really funny, but Idiot's Guide was one of the first books that I read as a kid. Obviously, it's not super deep, but it gives you a good overview of the whole war, and adds lots of little facts on the side here that I recommend. And yeah, it's a good starting point. Also, if you want to have your son or daughter read about World War II, Foster's War is not bad either. Mm-hmm. I read this as a kid and really enjoyed it. This is about a boy and the civilian life of World War II, and it's kind of depressing. So this isn't specifically a book. This is World War II, a photographic history. Mm-hmm. It has literally every single war front you can think of. And ignore the stickers because I was young and stupid.
We tried to decorate the book.
Yeah, every book we decorated. There's so many wars in this that and this book's pretty old. I think it's like 20 years old now. And this book right here, this is 20 years old. Yeah, and it shows photographs of everything you could ever want from a World War II thing. This is great. Now, for the actual books, first off,
you can see we lost a spine.
I've been reading stuff on my Kindle, and the stuff I've been reading that I highly recommend. First off, The Rising Sun, The Decline and Fall of the Japanese Empire by John Toland. I highly recommend if you want to read about the Japanese point of view. Oh. And when you read it, you're like, did the war really begin over a translation error? Obviously it didn't. The Japanese had plans. But the book makes a compelling case for the fact that the telegrams between the U.S. and Japan weren't accurate to convey each other's side's positions because of the translations at the time. There's also A Frozen Hell, which is on the Russian-Finnish War, and that book is insane, to say the least. I would highly recommend that one. Before I read that book, when I heard about the whole Soviets invading Finland, I always got this impression that it was just a guerrilla war across some tree lines and that the Finnish wore them down. When you read the book, though, it gives you a completely different point of view, where the Finns are how do I say this? It feels more like conventional war, and the Finns even had a massive defensive line that held off the Soviets, and it's a great, compelling read. I highly recommend it. And the last one I want to recommend is Masters of the Air. That one I finished reading most recently. Currently I'm reading Bloodlands by Timothy Snyder, who's someone in the comments recommended, funnily enough. But Masters of the Air is the TV show that Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks are going to be making, the next one after the Pacific, on a World War II. And it's about the 8th Air Force, the U.S. 8th Air Force, and about their journey of bombing Germany. Well, yeah. Germany? It's a highly compelling read, and it really shows you the psychological effects of World War II as well as the damage, and it makes a compelling case for the fact that the Allies didn't win D-Day because they landed troops on Normandy. They won D-Day because they bombed the shit out of Germany, lost so many airmen, but the German Air Force just couldn't keep up with the sheer amount of men and equipment that the Americans had. Some other recommended reads. So,
yes.
This is the opposite, but this is a very famous one
Yes.
by William Schreier. It's a little out of date because of some new information, but this one's a very great explanation on Hitler's rise, his politics, and all the disgusting shit that they've done in World War II.
And his life before art school.
Yeah, the political rise is really fascinating to read about the election side, how they raise money, that sort of thing. That was really cool, and to hear about personal life.
Mm-hmm.
But the book also goes into deep, deep detail about how the Germans looted countries and how a lot of them hid their war crimes. And Hitler's decline into even more insaneness. So yeah, recommend it if you want to read into that. Panzer Battles. This one's also old. However, this is from a German general, Major General F.W. von Mellenthin. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. But it's a pretty fun read. No, I don't want to say fun. It's from the German point of view about tank battles. I highly recommend it. However, keep in mind that this is biased. This is from the German point of view. So anything he writes about the Soviets, like tank battles and stuff, is a little suspect when you read other stuff. So remember that every author is biased, especially a German general talking about his own formations. So, but this is a good read. Utmost Savagery. So this is this is one of my first reads actually as a teenager, and the book also highlighted because it was 3 days of insane fighting over this tiny island. The book really emphasized this, and it also talked about the first time the U.S. public saw pictures of U.S. casualties, and that was a really big morale hit. And yeah, it really made Americans realize that this was going to be a heavy casualty war. Like clearing island by island was just not going to be, I don't want to say not worth it, but it's just not going to be fun.
Sounds depressing.
There is, so we have, Guadalcanal is such a fantastic read. There's Guadalcanal Diaries, there's Guadalcanal by Edwin P. Hoyt, which is a great read. This is also one of my first World War II books that I read. And then there's this massive thick novel called Guadalcanal. This goes into a shit ton of detail about the battle. I'm talking like every little detail you want to learn. Talking about every single ship crew, talking about all sorts of stuff by the great author Richard B. Frank, who I'm going to also talk about in another book in a second. Yeah, this goes into heavy detail about the first big clash between American soldiers and Japanese soldiers after Midway. I mean, obviously there was a clashing between U.S. Marines, U.S. military in Philippines versus the Japanese. But this is the first time the Americans really got a taste of the whole Japanese are insane sort of thing. So the other Richard B. Frank book is Downfall.
Oh.
Now, this is a really important read that I highly recommend. First off, because there's been a lot of, over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about if we had just kept bombing the Japanese, they would have surrendered. If we just starved them out, they'll surrender. But the Japanese weren't going to surrender. The book emphasizes that the American intelligence throughout the book realized that they had a massive shit show on their hands if they invaded the Japanese mainland. So the book makes a compelling case for the fact that bombing, dropping the atomic bombs on Japan ends the war, along with the Manchurian invasion by the Soviet Union. And those two cases forced the Japanese to realize their case was hopeless. But before then, the Japanese were going to fight. over the islands. Like, they were preparing. The book goes into detail, and from the American point of view, it seems kind of scary because the Americans actually might have had a shortage of divisions, if I remember correctly from the book in one of the parts. I haven't read this in a year. I definitely need to do a reread. But this is a great read. It also talks about the Japanese political situation, which is also in John Toland's book, which I highly recommend if you want to read about World War II and the Pacific part. And another book. This one is a big, thick book just called Air War, also about airplanes. But this is more general. This is more of a drier book. It goes into quite a bit of detail, though, about everything. About anything from the air war. So the book basically starts out with from the Japanese, the Spanish, how the Germans helped out, and how they taught their Air Force. And it goes into pretty deep detail about the war.
How the Germans helped out the Japanese.
The Germans did help out the Japanese, but I think I was misspeaking there. But the book goes into great detail about the air war, basically from all sides, and I recommend it. This is by Edward Jablonski. So yeah, these are my World War II book recommendations. Just for like a good start. If you guys have any other book recommendations that are about World War II, I'd like to read it in the comments. Please let me know. These aren't obviously everything. These are all my dad's copies of books, to be honest. So I can't claim like, oh, I bought these all on eBay. No, I didn't. These are all my dad's copies, and I read them all furiously as a kid. So yeah, if you want to start out, there's plenty of good stuff you can read. And yeah, that's basically all I have it. I'm currently reading Bloodlands, like I said, Europe between Hitler and Stalin, which is on my Kindle, and great way to save space, by the way, because I can carry 1 billion books on an ebook reader, or versus something like this size, like the photograph. The photograph book, however, is fun, for example, because you can just look through and just see.
A physical copy of that.
I know,
because it's mainly photographs.
Yeah, and it's starting to fall apart. Obviously, since it's 20 years old. This book was published 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this brief World War II book review. That's not a review thing, because I wasn't reviewing any books. I was just giving my recommendations. If you guys have any of your recommendations, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this. I'll see you guys next time. And big thanks to my sister for